Hey guys, Lizardlea here for Star Wars Stormtrooper Day 4. So there is the progress from Day 3. If it'll focus on it. Maybe, maybe not. And you can see it, you know. I am exhausted. David and I had the busiest day imaginable yesterday. And now I'm just really tired. But I want to cross stitch. So that's what I'm gonna do.
I'm still super flabbergasted that we haven't talked about this movie yet, because we saw it months ago with Alex. But the Puss in Boots movie, what is the exact title of that movie?
Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
The Last Wish. Okay, so when I say that movie is a 10 out of 10, I am not exaggerating. And it's not just because, like, it's infinitely better than, like, all of the previous Shrek universe movies. It's because on its own, it's spectacular.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any of the standalone Puss in Boots movies. And he was my favorite character from Shrek. I absolutely love Antonio Banderas. So I was just like, oh my god. But the previews did not make them look good. And then this one came out, and it looked beautiful. So we watched it with Alex and Belinda.
I hadn't even seen the previews. I just heard from everyone that it was incredibly good.
Oh, I saw a preview, and I was just like, oh, you know, like, it's got a beautiful style, you know, kind of hearkening, in my mind, back to this Into the Spider-Verse. Because I freaking love the art style in that movie.
Yep.
Or the art style in Arcane, because that was also spectacular. And then we watched it. And although I am now currently telling you it's a 10 out of 10, I have to be honest, I fell asleep. It was 11 o'clock at night, and I fell asleep 15 minutes before the end of the movie. So I watched it the next morning, and I cried a little, you guys. I would literally call that a perfect movie. I have no complaints. Or at least I don't remember any complaints.
I think there's like one or two jokes that don't land, and they're just like, why did you do this? Like, I get it. It's like, Shrek is known for having some crass humor. But to be fair, I also think it is still a 5 out of 5 movie. Like, no downside. Like, other than that those are like the only critiques I can law at it.
I do
story
remember
is
not
good.
some perfect jokes.
The pacing is great. The animation is phenomenal. And the jokes, other than those two or so, are hilarious. Like, they're just straight up hilarious. They're really well done. They're well timed. They're well written. They're well voice acted. It has John Mulaney, who I'd last seen in the Chippendales movie, which it sounds like he went from like good to not good depending on the scene. Whereas this was vastly better. So yeah, it was good to hear him like actually being funny and not despondent that he was on set or whatever.
Was he the cricket?
No, he was Jack Horner. Yeah.
Okay.
The cricket was hilarious.
Yeah, the cricket was imitating somebody.
Jimmy Stewart.
Yes.
Who's been dead for a while now.
Yes. Well, that's why I said imitating.
Yeah, no. I just clarifying for anyone who doesn't know Jimmy Stewart. Although I suspect your user base will trend towards Jimmy Stewart knowers.
Okay. What was I going to say? Oh, I was going to say, I still consider it a perfect movie because, you know, like, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood has 2 episodes that, like, if I didn't love this show that badly, I would skip them. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I always skip Beer Bad because that is a horrible frickin' episode, and I hate it. But it is still a perfect show. Like, everything has to have, you know, a dud point because that's just reality, unfortunately. And yeah, Puss in Boots, now that you're saying it, did have some not perfect jokes. But overall, it was still spectacular.
Yep.
Like, that movie, I have been recommending it to literally everyone I know. Adults, children. Like, I told my sister to watch it. My sister loved it. My nibblings loved it. Like, it's an amazing movie.
There's very few people who I think wouldn't love that movie. Like, again, there's like those couple of scenes where you're like, really? You went there, but fine, whatever. Like, then they end, and it's like, okay, and we're back, like, to great.
Yeah, like, I don't feel like they stay on any of those bad jokes for too long.
No, there's
they move
literally
on.
2 moments I can think of the entire movie.
They make the joke, we move on, and it's great again.
Yep.
Oh my god, that was such a
The
good
characters
movie.
are wonderful. Like, the concept is actually pretty wonderful. I guess we can actually start.
That's your job.
Yeah, so the basic
Premise,
yes, is just, hey, Puss in Boots is Puss in Boots, and he opens up being awesome. But then, like, he straight up gets killed. Like, right away. It's not a spoiler. And it's okay. He's all right. And because cats have 9 lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get he, like, finally figures out, like, oh, I've run through 8 lives. And then, like, he starts becoming afraid of death. And this bounty hunter comes after him, who is legit terrifying.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like, my heart rate would start going because he was scary.
Yeah, really, really well done. Okay, that's that. And he, fights him and actually loses because he's afraid and not himself. You know, it's kind of a Lost Your Mojo movie. Like, you've seen the tropes before, but it's executed very well. It doesn't waste your time. Like, hey, do you get it? He's not himself. Do you get it? Like, it moves on.
And he runs away.
He straight up runs away after he loses, and he, like, basically winds up being depressed and in the dumps, and it's sort of how he gets his groove back, essentially.
Oh my goodness.
It really is that
I have
plot.
seen how Stella gets her groove back.
Yeah, it's always that plot, but it works, and it works really, really well. And the villain is... So there's this wishing star that has fallen from the sky, and that's the big MacGuffin that they're going to go get. I think he wants it so he can, like, get his lives back.
Yeah, he wants his lives back.
He wants his lives back, and a couple of other characters show up who want various things.
Soft Paws, the romantic partner from a previous movie, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, is you don't need any context about anything Shrek to watch this, which is, I think, a very strong thing in its favor. You could have watched 0 Shrek, and this would be just as funny.
Yeah, 0 of the Puss in Boots movies, and it's still spectacular. Can't confirm.
Which is really, really well done. Mm-hmm. So,
like, they don't, like, completely do her origin story, but, they introduce you to
Well,
Soft
you don't
Paws.
need it. Like, that's the thing.
No,
it's
I know, but...
That's always the problem, is these movies that love origin stories. Like, oh, we better have an origin story. Like, no, you don't need one. It's good. We're good.
Yeah, exactly.
It has nothing to do with this process.
Actually, I feel like because so many movies are obsessed with origin stories now, it needs to be pointed out.
Oh, yeah, I agree. So,
there is an origin story for, what did they call him? Little Perito?
Yes, or whatever. Yeah, the sock dog. Who's okay, but whatever.
Everyone's texting me. I bought my wedding dress this morning, so my phone's blowing up. Don't mind me. Continue.
I didn't.
Thank God you didn't buy a wedding dress, unless it was for me.
So yeah, no, it's very well done. And like, I could spoil it, but it's actually worth watching. And jokes don't work as well, like being retold. Like, so this one was like. There's so many funny jokes, especially around the villain, who is just completely amoral, and not in a evil to be evil sort of way. Just in a, oh, this is what I want. This is how I'll get it. Like, are you really going to shoot that dog in that little puppy? Yeah, in the face. Why? Like, just straight up.
I don't think I really realized it before, but there's more than one villain in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And both of them are pulled off incredibly well and in very different ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's very impressive.
It's a really good movie. It's good writing. It's good pacing. It's excellent jokes. And, the animation is some of the best I've ever seen, which, like, has no business doing. It's definitely got that stylized, cool stuff going on when they do the battle. Like, the fight scenes are actually well choreographed, well shot, and well animated. It's really clever.
Oh, yeah, I loved the fight scenes in that movie. Holy crap.
Yeah.
That movie literally had no business being as good as it was.
Yeah,
then just knocking it out of the park.
Yeah. And I don't know, I guess Disney owns it all now, so that's part of maybe why it suddenly got better. But, like, yeah, I would never... I know a lot of people love the original Shrek. I think it's an okay movie.
I loved the original.
I didn't...
Sequels, meh. Take them or leave them, I don't care.
Nah, the original is... It's neat that it's a little bit different, but I find it, again, kind of like there's a lot of crass humor that's whatever. Like, ha ha ha, Disney would never make this joke. Like, yes, I know, but that doesn't mean that was clever. But no, this one was like... just total quality increase, blows everything else that came before it out of the water.
So good. So good. So good. I got you. Bum, 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 bum. Please tell me, anybody, that you recognize that song. Because I was singing it yesterday, and David and my mother were both looking at me like I was crazy.
I feel attacked.
Like, my mom was like, it sounds familiar, but I need more. And I was like, I can't think of anything more. So I can't give you more. You just have to go off of that and tell me if you know the song or not. Anyways, back to Puss in Boots.
I'm not sure there's much else to say about Puss in Boots is the problem, because, like, it's just talking about jokes that, you know, are hard to translate. Like, the characters, like I said, are all good. Like, there's never a scene where you're like, oh god, we're dealing with these people again, you know? Oh, even, I forgot, there was the little family of thieves or bounty hunters or whatever.
The Goldilocks and...
Yeah, Goldilocks and the Bears. That was also really well done and had no right being well done. But yeah, I highly, 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 highly recommend it.
Absolutely.
Do you
like, what?
I was going to say, do you want to do Spider-Verse next?
Sure.
Okay.
Sequel to the original.
Yep.
Still beautiful artwork. But there were times when the artwork changed, like, so drastically that it was throwing me off. And to the point of, like, I definitely prefer the first one more. But David felt the opposite and prefers the second one. Or at least he used to the last time we talked about this. But anyways, you can do your spiel about Into the Spider-Verse 2 Across the Universe? Is that what it was?
Yeah. Basically picks up kind of where the last one ended if you watch the teaser, because everyone watches the teaser these days. What's his name? Miles has been living, you know, kind of lonely because, I missed the Gwen.
The Gwen.
Spider-Gwen. And she suddenly, like, shows up in his roof, basically. Like, you've got the usual, like, school problems where, how's he doing at school and what's going on, and him trying to hide his life from his family. Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Spider-Gwen kind of recruits him and is like, hey, why don't we go hang out and do stuff like we used to? And he's like, oh, right, yeah, it'd be awesome, because, you know, they like each other.
And it is so cute. Oh my goodness.
It is so cute. Then things get kind of convoluted. I guess it's spoilers, but, like, it's also the plot. So, like, short version, watch the movie. Who knew? It's good.
Yeah, like, if you liked the first one, you definitely will like the second one. You need to go see it. But...
Yeah.
And this might be a spoiler, but I feel like some people will appreciate it. It's an open ending. Like, it's a middle movie. It's gonna have a part 2 that will pick up literally where this movie leaves off.
Yeah,
it's a cliffhanger. That's the word I was looking for.
You get to the point where you're like, well, wait a minute, how are they going to resolve this? And the answer is
they don't.
Because they resolve some of it, but they don't resolve all of it because, it can't be solved in one movie. They decided to split it in 2.
So I will say, if that is something that deeply upsets you, it's no longer in theaters. So, you know, I don't think you can give them much of your money anyways. If you want to wait until the next one comes to theaters and then just watch the first one, this Across the Universe, and then the next one, you should be good.
Yeah.
Or is it Across the Multiverse?
I don't. This one's Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh, Across the Spider-Verse. My bad. I said it wrong every single time I said it.
Yes, you're very good like that. But either way, the big spoilery-ish, like, thing that's revealed is very quickly we meet a bunch of other, like, we find out that Gwen's traveling between multiverses, and it turns out that's because she's part of an elite team of spider entities, because every universe, all these different universes have Spider-Men, well, spider entities, and they wind up all teaming up and trying to keep the universe stable, because there's things that are going on that make the universe unstable, like the previous movie where Kingpin decided to rip a hole in everything and, you know, try and get his wife back. So this is all led by Spider-Man 2099, who is mysterious and depressed and, you know, like, he's a little cliche.
And he seemed kind of like a werewolf vampire kind of thing every once in a while. It was super cool.
Yeah, I kind of know what's going on there because I watched a little bit of the 2099
I never got to
cartoon
see any of
when
it,
came
so
out.
I don't know. But I just, like, he was super cool. I'm not gonna lie, though, my absolute favorite Spider-Man now is the one based in India, where they go to...
Mumbai.
Mumbai?
Yeah,
What was his name?
Mumbattan or whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually.
It's
It was like,
Manhattan
you
meets
know,
Mumbai, so he's
yeah,
like, here's the traffic, here's
San
the traffic, here's the
Francisco.
traffic, here's the traffic.
He was my favorite. I literally cried over him, you guys. And not in a bad way. I thought he was so freaking precious that I was just like, I couldn't contain my emotions.
Yes. So we meet all these different spider entity peoples. And I keep saying entity because there is a spider T-Rex at one point, which is great.
Well, and if you watch the original one, you also already know about Spider-Pig.
Yeah.
So
a lot of wacky stuff kind of happens, but the big thing is, there's an event for Spider Mumbai where his girlfriend's dad is going to be crushed by a falling building during a fight. And Miles Morales saves him, because he's Miles Morales, of course he would. And it turns out he wasn't supposed to, because every Spider-Man has a canon event. There are these canon events. You know, you gotta lose your... Uncle Ben, or
your Gwen Stacy, or
Stacy.
whoever.
And even though, like, obviously in Gwen's world, the Gwen Stacy was Peter, it's, you know, these events have to occur. And so by stopping this event, he has broke the timelines and the universes, and things are going to get crazy. So, yeah, I don't think I have to go into more, because, like, it's worth seeing. There are interesting twists and turns. As always, it's gorgeusly animated. It's really well shot. The jokes are funny. I think all the scenes are really, really cool. Like, again, they're very creative with how they do the different styles to kind of, like, draw out that, like, this is
a different parallel universe. I feel like if I had thought about that more when I was watching it, it would have bothered me less. But I was just watching it, you know, like, I understood they were going to a different universe. But I don't know, it kept throwing me off. And I feel like if I were to watch it again now, I'd feel a lot better about it.
Well, we could go put it on and get some chai tea and naan bread.
Naan is good, but you're making chimkin, so you should be eating some chimkin.
For folks at home, the joke is made in the movie that chai tea means TT and naan bread means bread, but Liz has forgotten this or decided to ignore me. So,
For once, he got to explain the joke that he brought up. I'm actually really proud right now.
Glad you're proud. Glad the bar is low.
It is. It's true. But no, like that, I definitely recommend it. If you liked the first one, you should see this one. And I'm very hopeful that the next one will also be spectacular and it'll be great. Can we talk a little bit about the villain in this one? We already went to spoilers, right?
Sure.
So he's introduced when this guy's introduced. I don't remember what he's called, but he's like all white and he has black spots on him and they move. And he is trying to steal money from an ATM machine.
Yeah, he's great. He's part of why this movie's great, because again, like, he's the kind of character that in any other animation or any other, God forbid, a live action, they wouldn't do half as much clever stuff as they did in this with him. Like, it's perfect for them.
Yeah, I feel like in live action, it just, even if you tried to make it seamless and do as much as you can, not CGI, I don't know what word I'm looking for. I still don't think it would be as good, because it's so easy to do exactly what you want in a cartoon, because you just draw it. You just have to draw it.
Yeah.
Versus,
which granted is not easy, but yeah.
Well, I mean, it's gonna be pulled off infinitely better than you could ever do it. What is the word I'm looking for? With puppets or with CGI. Practical effects.
Yeah.
And as someone who, like, loves practical effects, and I will choose them every single time over CGI, I still think cartoons are, like, the perfect medium, because it's like, as long as you can imagine it and you can draw it, it'll happen. You're not held back by reality. So. And he was spectacular. That character was so much fun. Like, you'd throw something at him, he'd make sure it went into one of the spots, and it would get spat out somewhere else. And it was spectacular. I loved him. He's one of my favorite villains because of how much fun he was.
Yeah.
And how just interesting he was.
Yeah, I mean, he's incredibly well done, and, like, it's the perfect villain for them to do. And he's an interesting villain as well because of what's going on and where they go with it. Mm-hmm. He's not just like, well, this will be fun. Like, they work it in pretty well.
Like, those are the kind of powers where I'm like, I wish it were in the hands of the guy doing My Hero Academia or Jujutsu Kaisen, because they would still turn it on its head and do it differently and, make it just as cool, if not cooler. Like, friggin' look at Kitty Pryde and Lemillion in My Hero Academia. I love Kitty Pryde. Lemillion's a billion times better than her. Mm-hmm. Because they made him more interesting, and his powers are so cool, and they're basically the same, but his are better.
Tell him, babe.
I did. And I love the X-Men, okay?
Someone should.
How dare you?
I'm kidding. The X-Men are a really good concept that doesn't often deliver on its potential.
How dare you?
I
can't believe
no
we're leaving
apologies
on
for
that
this.
mark. I can't believe you.
No, it's the same problem almost every comic has, which is they never deliver because they can't ever move the plot. Unlike manga, which can have a beginning, middle, and end in character growth. Not that it does, but it can.
Yeah, American comics can never end because it's like, oh, new universe, everybody's alive again.
And so you get little arcs that are good, but even then, there's just so many problems. And for X-Men, it's been even worse because outside of the 90s cartoon, we've gotten some okay movies and a lot of garbage.
X-Men First Class was one of my favorite movies.
X-Men Evolution cartoon was okay to my memory.
I haven't seen any of the cartoons, so I can't talk about any of those.
It was more modern-ish, younger age, high school drama thing. Mm-hmm. Kind of like Teen Titans-esque, but it was well executed.
The live-action TV show I watched recently with the guy from The Americans, the dad, that was spectacular. And I'm really, really pissed that they didn't get another season. Because it would have been perfect. I told you all about it.
Yeah.
And I told you that I looked ahead and that it had been canceled too early. And so you were like, oh, I shouldn't watch it then.
Yeah.
It was awesome, though.
I believe that might have been possible.
It was so
And then they
good.
always try to do the Phoenix Saga. And that's
actually... They didn't, thank God.
That's actually what's always so frustrating about X-Men is X-Men has some really good villains.
And Phoenix is not my favorite, personally.
Phoenix is, I think, one of the worst villains in many ways, especially trying to adapt to any sort of... there's no easy way to adapt that narrative. Especially now. I think it's just aged weirdly, because it's so 80s, 90s, whatever year it came out. Like, it feels like it's from its decade with how the characters are dressing, what the plot is, what the concept is.
Well, I mean, that was literally from... when it was like just Jean Grey, Cyclops, Iceman, Beast, and somebody else. Like, there were barely anybody in the X-Men when Phoenix first happened. Because it was when they went to freaking space.
No.
And yes!
Wolverine was there.
Was Wolverine
there? Yeah,
the original time that it first happened in the comics?
I'll double check. Maybe they redid the Phoenix Saga, but I thought that was in the 90s, and it was 90s X-Men. We are now on a rant about comics. Oh God, the films.
No, that's not what we're talking about.
First comic, The Dark Phoenix Saga, was...
1976? That was Phoenix's first appearance.
1980 and 1976, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an older thing that they redid. I did not know that.
I did.
I legitimately didn't know until now. I only saw it through the 90s cartoon, and I thought that was the first time, because whenever I've seen Phoenix art or anything referenced, it's always the 90s. Well, no, I do see her, however, killing Wolverine in the background here, and Storm. But it's also
Storm there?
But Colossus is also there, and that's the older team, as is Iceman.
Because, like, okay,
Cyclops.
I could be wrong, but in my memory, the origin was, like, they're in space, they're on the shuttle or whatever, and whatever it is, like, it's breaking down, and, they're all worried that they're not going to make it back home. And then Jean Grey releases like all of her powers to, you know, because she's telekinetic or whatever. I don't know what word I'm looking for. To try and save everybody and get them back to Earth safely. Mm-hmm. And she literally burns through her life force. Like, her skin starts to melt. Like, it destroys her. And that's what makes the Phoenix go, oh, somebody's strong over on Earth. To 360, not whatever number we are. And that's what triggers Phoenix to go over there and take over Jean Grey's body. Could be wrong, though. I could have just, you know, internalized that at some point.
Doesn't seem to be what they're explaining here, but it's also the wiki summary, so who knows. Point being, Phoenix is not a great villain. Apocalypse is. Apocalypse is wonderful, but they've only...
But they ruined him in the movies.
Yeah, well, that movie was awful. But yeah, I mean, and that's kind of my point. Is like, Apocalypse is wonderful. Magneto, they do okay, but that's like the only one they know how to do, so they just keep doing it over and over again.
And that's the problem, yeah.
And then, God, Nimrod's actually really interesting. Hell, the Sentinels in general have never been done justice, in my opinion, and they're such a cool part of the whole concept. Just X-Men has so much potential that it is always let down on. You know, I'm gonna have to look it up now because it's bugging me. Who's the other one?
I love the X-Men.
Apocalypse, Sinister is potentially good. Juggernaut is great, which granted Juggernaut finally got done well in Deadpool, so that's one thing that got someone right. And I don't care about the rest of these, to be fair.
Oh! The Phoenix emerged in the unforgettable Uncanny X-Men number 101.
Oh, Omega Red, go ahead.
After defeating a horde of Sentinels in space, the X-Men made a desperate return to Earth with Jean Grey piloting their space shuttle. Jean used her telepathy to absorb Peter Corbeau's piloting skills along with her telekinesis to shield herself from the cosmic storm. Even so, Jean was fighting an uphill battle, nearly dying upon re-entry. Upon landing, however, Jean emerged from the Jamaica Bay as the Phoenix. I'm taking that as a win.
Believe you? Like, good for you, babe.
Yes. I'm just saying, sometimes my memory isn't trash. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. I feel like that's a much better place to leave it off at.
Yes.
Much more positive note.
Yeah, very positive. You telling me.
I actually don't really like Jean Grey. She's like one of my least...
She's pretty boring.
Interesting. Like, I find Cyclops way more interesting than her in the actual comics because he is interesting.
Scott Summers and a waste of potential. Name a better pairing.
No. But Storm is still my favorite. Storm and... Oh my god. What is her name? She turns into diamonds.
Emma Frost.
Emma Frost. Storm and Emma Frost are my favorites. And there we go.
And that is the end of Star Wars Stormtrooper Day 4. I got an hour and 34 minutes of footage. I'm too tired. I want to go eat, and I want to go to bed. And I want to relax. So that's all I've got. Like, subscribe, share, comment, all that jazz. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Eventually, I'll have normal hours and cross-stitching.